Alright everybody, you know what time of year it is. The leaves are starting to fall, it's getting cooler outside. We already made a pumpkin spice latte video, so now we're moving on to the big dog here. Homemade pumpkin pie entirely from scratch. But I'm doing a little bit of a competition with my brother, so we're both going to be making a different pumpkin pie recipe from scratch. We're going to see which one turns out better. It should be a lot of fun. I can't imagine that both of these are going to be bad in any way, shape, or form unless we really screw something up, which is definitely possible. And we'll see how these pies turn out. Go ahead and hit that like button down below, and I hope you guys enjoy the video. Stick around to the end of this video to see me and Dylan taste test our pies, or you can go ahead and skip to that. I'll leave a timestamp down below. It's in front of your face. Without further ado, let's dive into how to make both of these pies. Also, I wanted to mention two things. We are going to have access to the exact same type of ingredients. We're just going to be using different ratios of each, and we're going to be cooking things a little bit differently. And second of all, if you haven't seen my pumpkin spice latte video, I'll put the link in the description to that, because if you like pumpkin pie, you probably like pumpkin coffee or pumpkin lattes. So be sure to check that out, and let's dive into this video. Hello everybody, this is Mason here. For my pie, you are going to need 2 cups of flour as well as a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. As per protocol, use your Whisk Jedi skills and whisk all of that together. Now you're going to get 2 egg yolks, just the yolks, and then take some freezing cold water because that's what you need for pie crust. And then we're going to add that to our egg yolks. We need 4 tablespoons here. Keep that on standby. Be sure your eggs came fresh out of the refrigerator. You want everything to be cold here. Now take 10 tablespoons of unsalted butter that is freezing cold and place that into your flour mixture. This is going to make for an ultra flaky pie crust. Now, in order to mix this butter in, you want to use your fingertips. Don't use the palm of your hands at this step because the palm of your hands are a little bit warm, and you just want to break this down into pea-sized bits, and then you are good to go. Now you are slowly going to add in your egg yolk ice water mixture. Now the reason that I'm using egg yolks in my ice water mixture is to have a richer crust. But you want to slowly add this in until your dough comes together. It will be shaggy, but you want to be able to squeeze it in the palm of your hand and have everything hold together nicely. So I'm flouring my work surface, dumping out my clumps of dough, and then I'm going to form this into a disc. So add ice water as needed, and the butter will melt as you work, but it should form a disc like this, which you are going to wrap in plastic wrap and let sit in the refrigerator for 30 minutes. Once your 30 minutes is up, you can unwrap your dough ball and begin making your pie crust. After you've let your dough rest for 30 minutes, you're going to take it out of the refrigerator and flour a work surface. I would let it sit about 5 minutes so it'll be easier to work with and it'll form less cracks once you roll it out. But now we are going to roll our dough out very thinly. So here I'm just flouring the top of my dough, as well as my makeshift rolling pin here, which is a water bottle. I would suggest using a rolling pin, but you can also use anything that you have that is sturdy enough to roll this out. So before you go to town on rolling this thing out, you kind of want to press it out, give it a 1/4 turn, and then press it out until it is able to be rolled. This will take a minute, and as you do this, cracks will probably form, but if you get any big cracks, go ahead and just patch them back together by squishing them down. As you can see here, I have one, so just tuck it back in and keep repeating this process. Eventually you will be able to roll your dough out as the butter begins to melt in the dough, and you want to have this bigger than your pie pan, so hold it up to that to adjust, and be sure to keep this as even as possible. So I couldn't really film me putting this into my pie pan, but just be very careful not to rip it. It's okay if it does, you can patch it up with some of these pieces that are overhanging, but then just take your knuckles and be sure that this pie is sitting tucked nicely to the edges of your pie pan. So you'll probably have some pieces that are really sticking off. I just recommend getting some scissors and just trimming this up. It doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to tuck this anyways, and you want a little bit of overhang. So now we're just going to kind of pinch this dough together. You're not really tucking it under the pan here, you're just kind of pinching the dough together to have a thicker outside. This will help when we're crimping the edges. So once your edges are tucked, you can take your index finger and thumb on one hand and a knuckle on the other, and then just go around this pie and make crimps all the way around the pie dough. Now that the edges are crimped, we have to get some parchment paper and place this inside our pie. So hold your paper up to your pie, rip it, crumple it up, and this is going to help it adhere and fit in our pie a little bit better. So unroll your ball and then place it inside your pie dough. Once that is placed into your pie, you are going to add either some baking beans, some pie weights, or probably the thing that most of you have, some rice. And this is going to help hold this paper down. And the reason that we're doing this is so we can cook the crust a little bit but not scorch the bottom of it. And if it helps, you can go ahead and trim some of this parchment paper because you don't want this stuff hitting the burner in your stove. Now place this in a preheated oven on 450 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 to 20 minutes. While that's going, we can make our pumpkin filling and spice mixture. So, first 1.5 teaspoons of cinnamon, 1/8 teaspoon of ginger, 1/8 teaspoon of nutmeg, and then we're going to follow that up with 1/2 teaspoon of salt, which is really here to help enhance the flavors. Now just whisk that around with a fork. Then get a mixing bowl and add in 14 or 15 ounces of pumpkin puree. 100% pure pumpkin here. Don't use pumpkin pie filling because that already has spices in it. Now just add your spice mixture to your pumpkin puree. Then give this a quick whisk to ensure that all of those ingredients are thoroughly combined. Alright, at this point your pie should be ready. I did have to stick mine in for the full 15 minutes, but you want to be sure that the bottom is completely done here and no mushy spots. At this point, your first pie bake should be done, so we can go ahead and add our pumpkin puree to a parchment lined baking sheet, and then we're just going to spread this out until you don't want it to be super thin, but you want it to be relatively thin. And then we're going to cook this on 350 degrees for 12 to 15 minutes. So this is pretty much just going to help cook your pumpkin here. And if you do it this way, it will result in a darker pumpkin pie. Almost a more rustic pie in my opinion. So that's what I'm shooting for here with this filling. So if you want a lighter pumpkin pie, I would recommend waiting to look at Dylan's method for making his pumpkin pie. While your pumpkin and spice mixture is cooking, you can go ahead and add in 1/2 cup of white and 1/2 cup of brown sugar to a mixing bowl and whisk that together. Then we're going to take 3 whole eggs and crack that into a bowl. Then we're adding in 1 egg yolk because you guys know how I feel about adding in egg yolks anywhere you can to have a richer ingredient. So go ahead and mix your sugar mixture together, and I had to set mine aside on a different plate because I needed this bowl. Now we are going to whisk together our 3 eggs plus 1 egg yolk. Now add your eggs to a mixing bowl because we are going to need some half and half. Now grab yourself a heat-proof mug and add 1.5 cups of half and half to it. I went with my Snorlax mug here because it is large and can hold all of this half and half. In the comments, let me know what your favorite Pokemon is. Now to the microwave, we are going to take our mug and let this heat up for 1.5 minutes on high. Once heated, I'm going to transfer this back into a cup that is easier for me to pour out of, and then while whisking, you're going to slowly add this in to your eggs. You want to slowly add this in because we're not trying to make scrambled eggs here. We're bringing these eggs slowly up to temperature so we can have a nice, smooth, silky custard that everybody knows and loves in a pumpkin pie. After you've slowly added in your half and half, you can go ahead and pour in the rest because all of your eggs should be up to temperature now. While your milk and egg mixture is still warm, go ahead and add in your sugar mixture and realize that your bowl is way too small even though this is dissolving very satisfyingly and quickly into the bowl. So we're bringing out the big guns here. We're going with our stand mixer because that's the biggest bowl that I own, and why not? We're already really deep into making this pie here, so let's just go ahead and use everything we own in our kitchen. I promise you, if this is your first time making something like this, your kitchen is going to look like a tornado went through it after it's all said and done. but for the sake of homemade pie, it will be worth it. Now, after you've added in your eggs, your half and half, and your sugar, we can take our pumpkin puree out of the oven after it's been roasted and also add this to our mixing bowl. Then we're just going to add our whisk attachment and run this on low for about 1 or 2 minutes until all of the ingredients are thoroughly combined. Now you can grab your pie crust, and we are going to be using an egg wash here, or you don't have to, but you might as well go ahead and flex on all of your family members this holiday with this pie because you're so extra that you have to add this egg wash around the edge. This is going to enhance the crust a little bit and offer a nice sheen around your pie crust and ultimately a better pie. Now take your stand mixer off or just your mixing bowl and pour your custard into your pie crust until every last drop is out. And just look at that, you have a pie that is ready to be baked. All of the hard work is out of the way now, and all you have to do is just ensure that you don't burn the absolute crap out of this thing and ruin all of your hopes and dreams. I'm just kidding, I promise you will do great. So, ever so carefully, carry this to your oven, which is preheated to 425 degrees, and you're going to cook that for 15 minutes. After the 15 minutes is up, you are going to drop your oven temperature down to 350 and then cook it for about 30 to 35 minutes. I would check early just to ensure. Now, once your pie is done, it should be a little bit jiggly in the middle and nice and set near the outer edge. Alright, so you want to be sure that this is completely cooled before serving, but look at this, guys. You have a nice beautiful pie with a nice dark brown crispy crust, nice and flaky, and then you've got that glistening top. Everything that you want in a pumpkin pie. All of your pumpkin pie hopes and dreams have been satisfied. But let's see what Dylan can do with his pie. Alright, so for the crust, the first thing you're going to need is 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour. Next, we're going to be adding in 1/4 cup of granulated sugar, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and then you are going to whisk your dry ingredients thoroughly. Now we're going to add 2 sticks or 16 tablespoons of unsalted butter to our dry mixture. Break your butter into bits and mix it in to the dry mixture. Now we're going to add in 3 tablespoons of ice water, and you can slowly add in more later if needed. Flour your work surface and begin mixing your dry ingredients with your butter and begin kneading it into a dough ball. Then try shaping it into a disc and wrapping it in plastic wrap. This is going to go in the fridge for about 10 minutes to chill. Let your dough rest at room temperature for about 5 minutes and begin unwrapping it. You can go ahead and flour your work surface, and we will begin to roll out this dough into a perfect pie crust. Now toss a little bit of flour on top of your dough disc just to keep your rolling pin from sticking, and on your rolling pin if necessary. Now to start this out, all I did was press down on the dough a little bit, rotate it, and continue this process until it gets to about 1/2 inch in thickness. And as you can see here, it's a lot easier to roll out like this, and then I'm going to begin rolling out the dough evenly. Now transfer your dough to a pie pan very carefully and neaten up the edges. As you can see here, I'm just trimming off some excess and kneading up the crust just a little bit around the pie pan. Then you can crimp the edges and you will be good to go. Now we are ready for the first step of baking. Line your pie crust with parchment paper. Add in pie weights, beans, or rice just to keep the parchment paper tightly against the bottom of the crust. Bake that at 425 degrees for 10 minutes until the crust is golden brown, and take your parchment paper out. Now we're going to dock the crust with a fork just to release some air bubbles, and we're going to be placing our pie back in the oven to crisp the bottom, and we're doing this for 10 minutes. Now let's get started on the filling. We're going to need 3/4 a cup of light brown sugar, 1 15-ounce can of pumpkin puree, and we're going to mix that into a large pot here on the table. Go ahead and toss in your brown sugar in that pot as well. In a separate cup, mix 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, 1/4 teaspoon of ginger, 1/4 teaspoon of salt just to keep it simple, 3/4 a teaspoon of cinnamon. Then just mix those spices up. Pour your spice mixture into the pot and we are headed to the stove. Go ahead and mix everything up on medium-low heat, just slowly whisking until we start to see a few bubbles. Now pour 1.5 cups of half and half into a Spider-Man mug or any mug of your choice and carry that to the microwave. It's going to heat for about 2 minutes. Now crack 3 eggs into a bowl, whisk, 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 and then pour into a larger mixing bowl. Now we're going to slowly add in our warm milk mixture into our eggs and begin whisking that around, then continue to add in the rest of your milk. Pour your milk into your pumpkin, sugar, and spice mixture and then mix thoroughly until you get a color and consistency similar to this. Now pour your pumpkin mixture into your pie crust that has cooled and be sure to get as much of it in there as possible, leaving enough room at the top so you don't make a mess spilling it trying to move it in and out of the oven. Drop your oven down to 350 degrees and we're going to be baking this for 45 minutes. The middle should have a slight jiggle whenever you pull it out of the oven, and it should be nice and orange like this with a crispy crust. Now that both pies have been made, let's dive into this taste test. Alright everybody, we both finished our pies. Mine is in front of me, Dylan's is in front of his. There are some slight differences here, so it'll be interesting to see which one tastes better. The way that we're going to do this is we're going to go for the taste of the actual custard filling in the bottom of the pie crust, as well as the crust right here. And we're going to do a blind taste test to see whose is better overall. So let's dive into this. Would you like to say anything about your pie, Dylan?
I would like to say the presentation of my pie, flawless.
Here is pie number 1. I don't know if you guys can see this, and we'll try not to drop it. So this is just like the straight up custard with the crust on the bottom.
Tear it up.
It's in front of your face. Oh my god.
I can't see it. Alright, next one. I might need multiple bites.
Actually, let's get some water to cleanse the palate. Right in front of you. You want me to hand it to you?
Give overall taste of the...
So you want a piece of each in your hand?
Yeah, just put it in my hand, that way you don't have to... Alright, first pie, right?
No, that's the second one.
Okay.
First.
I still think I like the second one better overall.
Overall? Alright, this is off of the second pie.
Okay.
And this is off of the first pie.
The first one was good, this one tastes like cardboard.
If you want multiple.
Alright, it's gonna be Christmas before I get my pie.
This is pie 1.
Yeah.
And this is pie 2.
It's pie 1. What you're considering pie 1.
What I'm considering pie 1.
I'm going off of taste here. See, both are good. I feel like the flavor of the second one was better. In my opinion, I don't know if that was just a textural thing. Texturally, I would say the first one was a little bit more silky, and overall, has better texture. I would say the flavor though, and that really does it for me, is on the second one. If we're going based off of flavor.
Yep, this is pie 2. And then try this piece for pie 1, but I might have to give you another piece.
They're both good to me, but I do think that the first one was better. On the crust, it's a little bit sweeter, but both were very crispy, I would say. Everything's blurry. Alright, so overall, Dylan liked his pie better all around. Imagine that. Wait, so you liked the custard of yours better, and you liked the crust of yours better. And you also
the crust and the crust. Alright, let's have an instant replay for Dylan here.
Custard of yours, crust of yours better.
You said the crust and the crust. You like the crust of yours better and the custard of yours better, and you also said that mine had a darker taste to it, like a little bit of a darker taste. So you got that spot on.
I should just be a food reviewer.
Which one did I like better? Now that you have your mouth full.
You like, well, you said that the taste of yours was better, which was pie number 2 of the custard. But you said the custard of mine was more creamy, and you said that you like my crust a lot better. The bottom crust was about the same, but really on the back, his tasted like a Triscuit, and mine was very buttery and flaky.
You could use his pie crust and then my custard, or
My
if you
custard's
like,
better. I'm telling you, my custard's better. It's creamier.
we'll let everybody in the comments decide.
But I would say mine won.
I don't know.
Get off your high horse.
I'm not getting off my
Mine
high.
won.
Hold up. No, listen. Okay, I'm agreeing with you. I think yours did win because I liked half of yours better than I like half. You got half of my points and you got all of your points, so you definitely won.
Okay.
I agree that you won. You made the better pie.
I just want another piece of pie.
Man went to the refrigerator to get his pie. And he cooked the bottom of it perfectly because it's got a nice brown piece and that was straight out of the middle of it.
I would say that's perfect consistency. Words
Words
are
are
hard.
hard.
Perfect consistency of pumpkin pie. If you
Alright,
like,
here. Dylan's pie won the competition. Now I'm going to tell you what you have to do. Make his crust and then
the filling the same.
the filling the same.
And the same
Make
way
it the
on the
same
stove.
way on the stove. And then use the spices that I used in this.
Yeah.
And then that would make the best pumpkin pie.
That would
I
be-
agree.
Yeah, because
Can we
I
agree
think-
on that?
I can agree on that because
Big ups.
yours overall has more of a cinnamony pumpkin pie taste.
I would still eat either one of these
Definitely. These don't stand a chance.
over a store-bought pie. Because I don't think I've ever had like a homemade pie crust before like this, but it knocks the store-bought stuff out of the world. Alright guys, if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button down below. Comment something that you want to see me cook in the near future. Let me know if you want me to do more cooking competitions with Dylan, and I'll see you guys on the next one.